choosing your class in Lostark can be very difficult, and making the right decision is of course a big task. So I'm gonna try to help you guys with that today. So welcome to my Lostark new and returning player tier list. This tier list is going to be based on how easy it is to play a character and as well how well it performs. If you guys want a DPS tier list, that's coming soon as well to the channel, so be sure to subscribe for that. One final thing, this is gonna be my personal opinion, and as well I will include opinions of other players at the end of today's video about some certain classes that they think is the best new player and which classes you should avoid as well. And one final note, no matter what I'm saying in this tier list, no matter what other people are saying, no matter what you read online or see online, if you see a class that you enjoy, then play that class. It is so important to play something that you like the fantasy of, or you like the looks of, and do not just chase the meta just because you want to, because meta can always shift, so do not care about it too much. Before we get started, quickly, there's going to be a few useful websites you can use to check out builds for any of these characters, or maybe some more information. First of all, we have lostark.nexus, and this will give you class guides for every single class there is in the game, including some other guides as well if you are interested in those for side of Lostark. But it's just a very good overview of some quick Google Docs links for every single class inside of Lostark. We as well have uoo.matty.mo. This is going to be a website where you can look up stats for everything about Lostark, how many characters are made, how many rosters, how many supports there are, and which classes are the most and unmost popular inside of the game. So if you like playing something very obscure like Machinist, for example, you can make that and you're playing the least amount played class in the game, which is very cool. There's other statistics as well, like for DPS and class loadouts and arc passives and combat scores, etc. So this is a very useful website to use as well. So we're gonna go ahead and click create character, and you will be immediately met with a nice screen selecting you a class. So what you have to know about it if you're a new player, that any single class you choose is what you choose for life. The only way to swap them is to literally create a new character. So if you're a warrior male and you're creating a berserker, you cannot swap to destroyer, gun lancer, paladin. You are stuck being a berserker until the end of days. And if you really wonder, but how am I supposed to know if this character really fits me, if I like the play style? Of course, I do have a video right now on the screen how to choose your perfect class inside of Lostark. This goes a lot more in depth about how choosing the perfect play style for you, and this of course is more of a tier list of what I think is a very good class, which you can then take and apply to that video and then see of course if you'd like the class I'm suggesting. Okay, so let's start off with the S+ tier. I know, starting at the top, very interesting, right? S+ tier, in my opinion, is going to be supports. Why do I think supports are an S+ tier? That is because supports get into every single raid very easily. They require less investment than DPS classes. They allow you to learn the raids a lot easier because you don't have to focus on DPSing while learning the raids, and that in my opinion is such a strong asset. The negative part about being a support though is that the DPS of your part really heavily relies on how good you are as a support. So if you're not buffing correctly, if you're not shielding correctly or anything like that, your party will really suffer and maybe even hate you for it. The three support classes currently in the game are going to be Paladin, the male, then we have ourselves the Bard, which is under the Mage, and then the last one is going to be the Artist, which is going to be under the Specialist class. There will be a brand new class coming in next month in August, which is called the Female Paladin. Right now on the screen, Valkyrie will be the general locked female version of the Paladin. So if you like the holy, knight kind of feeling, then there will be a female version, but that will be coming out in August next month. So any of those four supports, of course, are good. If you want my personal recommendation on those as well, the best support, in my opinion, is going to be Bard. She's the hardest to play though, so if you like a lot of ability usage, if you like a high uptime and the highest buff potential, Bard is definitely that. If you want the easiest of them all but still very good, it's going to be Paladin. Definitely recommend that class as well. Alright, so let's set aside the S+ tier for supports. What about some DPSs that are S+ tier? In my opinion, the first one that always comes to mind is going to be the Arrowmancer. This is not the highest damage class you can play in the game, but it is a very easy class. And what's amazing about her as well, she provides a crit synergy, which gives you plus 10% crit rate. It as well gives you 10% attack speed and movement speed as another passive. So she's an absolutely amazing character to have. She's pretty cute as well, but if you're not really into this style of characters, then I have another suggestion for you as well. That would be the War Dancer. This gives you you a nice crit synergy as well, but doesn't give attack speed. It only gives movement speed. This is more of a fighter, doesn't use like the weather tactics, but you can still like her. She is a pretty cool. Quickly going back to the specialist, I would definitely recommend Wild Soul as well. This is one of the easiest DPS classes in the game, but does a absolute butt ton of damage. If you're looking for something super easy and high damage, Wild Soul is your class. This sadly is not a class that provides any sort of supportive or movement speed, attack speed kind of bonuses to your party. So if you like that style, I would definitely go with Aeromancer instead, but Wild Soul definitely currently is S+ tier in my opinion. If you're looking for something a little bit more male and bulky, then in my opinion, the Berserker is an absolute amazing class as well. Currently does a lot of damage, has some good capabilities in Mayhem, which gives you free movement speed, attack speed. It is just a big sword and a big guy, definitely worth playing. But this of course is good in damage. If you do not really care that much about damage, another S tier class in my opinion is going to be the Gun Lancer. So Gun Lancer is a little bit of a weird class. There is no tanks in Lost Ark, but Gun Lancer does a bit of the tank class. It has a taunt which works on some bosses, not all of them. All the big Legion raid bosses, the taunt does not work on. Keep that in mind. But it can shield your team. It can make sure that they do not fall on the ground. It has the most OP awakening in the game as well, but at the drawback of it being pretty slow and as well the damage being a little bit lacking. It doesn't mean that you cannot be the most damaging player in a raid, but it's going to be a lot harder as a Gun Lancer compared to, for example, a Wild Soul. Alright, we're going into the A tier a little bit, so these are still of course very good, but these are going to be lacking in a few departments. Either maybe lacking in some sort of damage, or they're just maybe a little bit harder, or just do not provide any good synergies. First one in the A tier is going to be the Demonic Impulse Shadow Hunter. Holy! The transformation, the animation, look amazing, but its only drawback in my opinion is that it doesn't do the most damage. It's not the highest damage class in the game. It's very easy to play. It has a self-heal every time you transform, which is amazing, and that of course helps a new player out a ton. It's pretty fast as well if you're transformed, and it just looks really cool. The other spec, the Perfect Suppression Shadow Hunter, is very swift. He's very fast. It doesn't transform anymore though, but it does a lot more damage, but it's a bit harder to play. But that's cool because you can go from like an easy class into a more advanced class later on to the game. Another assassin is coming in right now, and that would be the Soul Eater. In my opinion, the only one that counts to this for a new player is going to be the Full Moon Soul Eater. This is going to be a spec class, so this means that you are going to be pretty slow, but it does a lot of damage and it's easy to execute as well. And it has a scythe, so that's always a very big plus. And I think to round up the A tier for me, it would be Slayer. This is probably going to be the hardest class out of the bunch so far, because Slayer's biggest drawback is that she is a back attack class. If you don't know in this game, the boss have a front and a back, and certain classes have to hit that specific part of the body to get more damage. Slayer is one of those classes. It's a back attack class, so it requires you to hit the back of the boss. But besides that, that's a little bit hard. She has a lot of tools to chase the back, like she has like 3 dashes she can use. She has good animations. She has big jumps. So, and she looks absolutely amazing with her gigantic sword and personalities. So I think she's definitely an A tier class for you guys if you're a new player. And I think the last one I'm gonna place in the A tier is going to be the Striker. So Striker just does that much damage. Again, it's another back attack class. So I know we just talked about the Slayer, but the Striker, I have to mention it. I thought I would maybe put it in the B tier, but no, I'm putting it up to A because it just does that much damage. It's Unga Bunga build, which is a build as well, which is for Striker. It's just a lot simpler, but it does a lot of damage. So I'm gonna put Striker in A tier. Then we're gonna start off the B tier class, I think, with Deathblade. And the reason why I put Deathblade here is super simple. Is Deathblade, even though she's very hard and she has a very high skill ceiling, she just does that much damage. I cannot place her any lower than a B tier. So again, keep this in mind. This is a very strong class, but it's pretty hard. But because of how strong it is, I cannot place it lower. So if you really want a high skill character, Deathblade definitely is a choice for you. But if you're not good at those type of things like uptime and pressing a lot of buttons, do not choose this cast. Do not choose it. Do not choose it. It's not worth it. It can look very cool, but you're just going to be fatigued and you're always going to be bottom DPS because you just cannot fully utilize the potential of this class. I would say now the B tier comes, and this is, in my opinion, a lot where all of these male gunners shine in the B tier. So we have Sharpshooter, which has quite a lot of charge attacks, which can be a little bit annoying. We have Deadeye, which is going to have weapon swaps, which are going to be a little bit hard to get used to as well. But still, there is a Pistolier build, which is just one set of weapons, which only handguns, but it's very, very, very weak, so that's why I cannot put it higher either. Artillerist has the benefit of, it's a pretty easy class, but because you have to sit AFK in your transformation gun, you have to know where you can sit and stand. So he is a bit forgivable, but he can mess up the raid quite hard if you're tanking like patterns. You're not allowed supposed to tank, or you're gonna gain gauge where you're not supposed to gain gauge. So it could be an A tier class, but I'm gonna put it in B just because you need to just know what is going on without face tanking everything, because it's just gonna turn into one big mess. And then Machinist, the most unpopular class inside of Lost Ark. Its damage is just mediocre in both sets. Its visuals are not for most people. Maybe some people like this, you can go for it, but I just cannot put it high personally myself because I know how popular the class and how it performs. It's just not that amazing. Another B tier class, in my opinion, will be the Summoner. With the upcoming of the CO Summoner patch next Wednesday, she's actually going to be summoning a lot of pets, which is not the hardest playstyle, but because she is still kind of slow in her Master Summoner form, which is her biggest damage, where she summons big monsters and like gods to the field, which a lot of people are gonna like, I cannot put her any higher. I would say CO Summoner definitely is more towards the A tier, but yeah, Master Summoner definitely is a B tier with how slow she is and how long it takes for her to cast her abilities. Same for the B tier is going to be following the Scrapper and the Glavier. Glavier and Scrapper both are going to be a back attack class, but just lacking the mobility that Slayer has, in my opinion. Especially Glavier, a lot of people are like, it looks cool when you're starting them, but a lot of people are actually dropping her near the end game, so that's why I cannot put her higher than B as well. Scrapper, once again, is a back attack class, has some big bonks, but wouldn't really put her higher than B as well. And then we're gonna go ahead and put Breaker into the B tier. So Breaker, of course, is a front attacking class, but because of how good its X skill is, which makes you literally never fall on the ground, I think it's near the top of B tier, but because of its damage is a little bit lacking lately, I cannot put it into an A or anything higher. And here we go, guys, we've arrived for the C tier. In my opinion, these are all very hard classes. They could be very strong, but in my opinion, they are not good for new players. First of all, it's going to be the Destroyer. Very slow attacks, front attacking character. You need to know what the bosses are doing to fully utilize its potential. It looks pretty cool with its gigantic hammer, but like I said, it's a very hard class. Ooh, Arcana and Sorceress. So Sorceress seems like a very simple character, but because of how slow she is, and people just have a very, very, very hard time. The people that die the most in every raid or learning raid I do are Sorks. The people that do the lowest damage in every raid I do are Sorks. It doesn't lie. The numbers don't lie. I have done so many new and returning player guides and videos and everything, and Sorceress just never pulls through. Arcana is just the other end of the spectrum. She does tons of damage, but she's extremely, extremely hard. You have to memorize her cards. You have to memorize her mobility. She has really high uptime requirements. She is just the, if you want to really try hard in a game, or you're like an 18-year-old Zoomer, Arcana is for you, but otherwise, do not touch this class. You're just gonna have a lot of difficulty. Same thing here is going to be the Soul Fist, a very hard class as well, really coming online late into the game, and you still have to prioritize the way you play her. She has different modes which you have to activate at certain times, and if you do them wrongly or activate them at the wrong times, you're gonna really suffer a lot of DPS loss. So I cannot recommend Soul Fist anything higher than a C tier. And the hardest of them all, and in my opinion, one of the least recommended, I would say, is a Gunslinger to a new player. This character has 3 different guns to use, 3 different set of abilities. Like, you have to shift through them. You have to know what uses when and what scenario, what does what. It is a very, 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 very hard class. There is a rework coming though this next Wednesday on Time to Hunt, one of her utilizations of her class, but I currently do not know where it's going to send. I cannot give a recommendation. People say it's pretty easy, but still, I think Gunslinger, Peacemaker especially, is a very, very hard class, and I would definitely not recommend it as a new player. And then the last one on the list, Reaper. Do not play it. Back attack, it's very hard. The damage is a bit lackluster to utilize the potential of this class. It is just very, 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 very hard. In some situations, yes, it can do well. It can look cool, but it's just not it. A lot of people have been complaining about her. A lot of people have been dropping her. She keeps getting reworks and changed and everything, and it's always missing the mark. Everyone that plays this character has either swapped off it or is just like too deep into it to really get rid of her. But I would never, ever, ever recommend anyone a Reaper inside this game. No matter what spec, no matter what situation, Reaper, in my opinion, is one of the worst suggestions you can have as a new player. Before we go into some player-made suggestions as well, I want to quickly give one last overview of one class for every single like subclass there is, because maybe you really want to play Warrior Mill, and then I'm just going to go ahead and give you guys my best suggestions. So for Warrior Mill, I would say it's going to be either Berserker or Paladin if you want to play support. Warrior Female, there's only one choice, which is Slayer. If you want to go for a Mage, I would definitely say go for a Summoner, or if you want to play support, go for Bard. If you want to go for a Material Artist Female, I would definitely go with a War Dancer. If you go for a Material Artist Male, I would definitely go with a Striker, just because back attacking is a lot easier than front attacking is. Then for a Gunner Male, I would go for the Artillerist. It's probably the easiest one of the bunch, in my opinion. Then we have ourselves the Gunner Female. There's only one option, Gunslinger. I would just not go for it, in my opinion. For Assassins, I would definitely go for a Shadow Hunter, or if you want a bit more damage, you can go for a Soul Eater. And then for Specialist, in my opinion, all three are good. But if you really need a recommendation, Artist, of course, for support is always very nice, and you're gonna get in more parties as an Aeromancer versus a Wild Soul. So I would have to say Artist and Wild Soul for the Specialist. So let's go into right now some player suggestions as well of what they think you should choose or not choose. We'll now go over a few opinions of other people that they have about classes, which ones you should play and which ones you shouldn't. So for my first suggestion, they are saying their most recommendation to class is going to be a Shadow Hunter, and at least one is going to be a Reaper. Their reasoning is that Shadow Hunter has self-healing as an easy class to play, and Reaper is just really hard and really bad damage for what it does. From another expert player, it's going to be a recommendation for a War Dancer, easy to play, and of course has good synergy. Definitely not recommended. They say avoid Arcanas and Gunslingers just because of their difficulty. And the last recommendation from a lot of people is just like try to avoid slow classes like the spec classes like Sork and stuff. These are just not that crazy good for new players. And that's it, guys. That is my new player recommendation tier list. A+ tier, A tier, B tier, C tier. Let me know, of course, which ones you do agree with or disagree with. I think most of these make sense, but again, guys, please follow your heart and just choose whatever you want to play. So if you guys did enjoy this video, I would highly appreciate a like down below. Guys, subscribe if you're new. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys again soon for another video. Take care.